News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
They want answers. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Families of 9/11 victims reacting to recently released video that they say confirms Saudi Arabia's role in the attacks.
The video, said to show a Saudi intelligence officer helping hijackers surveil the U.S. Capitol, makes Brett Eagleson, president of 9/11 Justice, mad.
Our government has failed to bring us accountability, closure, and justice.
Victims' families say it wasn't discussed during the CNN presidential debate, and they want the presumptive party nominees to address it. Eagleson says there's bipartisan belief the Saudis were involved in 2001.
And it's unconscionable that the two candidates for president of the United States are refusing to address this issue.
They say it's time to hold the Saudi government accountable instead of handing out thoughts and prayers.
Fox's Gernal Scott. The sentencing for former President Trump in his New York hush money trial has been pushed back until at least September after yesterday's Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity.
Trump's lawyers asked for a delay in the sentencing so they could brief the court on immunity. They want to argue that Trump's conviction for felony falsification of business records must be set aside after yesterday's decision.
Fox Business's Lydia Hu. Yesterday, the Supreme Court ruled the president can be immune from prosecution for official acts, but not for unofficial acts. The White House remains on defense after President Biden's debate performance last week.
It was a bad night. It is not uncommon for incumbents to have a bad night on their first debate.
Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. Most Democrats continue to support the president, though Texas Democratic Congressman Lloyd Doggett is the first Democrat to call for the president to withdraw from the race. The FDA says untreated water used on cucumbers is likely a source of salmonella that sickened over 450 people in the U.S. this spring. America is listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
An officer-involved shooting in Indianapolis. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. A Tuesday morning shooting in Indianapolis may have been an attempt at suicide, say police. Donnie Burgess explains.
The suspect told medics that he shot himself multiple times and that he wanted to die.
Indy Metro Police Assistant Chief Michael Wally explaining what led to a police shooting on the west side of the city Tuesday morning. Someone called the cops and said a white man shot them. When police arrived, they only found a white man, and he pointed a gun at the officers.
Officers told the suspect over 16 times to drop the gun.
And then two IMPD officers shot their guns, but it's unclear if they hit the suspect or if he shot himself. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The suspect was taken to the hospital in critical condition. And the body pulled from Patoka Lake in southern Indiana has been identified as that of an Indianapolis man. Wes Woodward has more.
Department of Natural Resources law enforcement divers recovered the body of 24-year-old Xavier Richardson using sonar around 8:15 p.m. Sunday night from Patoka Lake in Orange County. The DNR releasing his name Tuesday as the swimmer who disappeared under the surface of the water near the Painter Creek boat ramp around 6 p.m. on Sunday. Wes Woodward, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The Marion County Public Health Department will be closed Thursday for Independence Day. This includes all clinics and outreach services operated by the health department, as well as walk-in services for birth certificates, death certificates, and immunization records. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
For tonight, partly cloudy skies, our low temperatures in the low 70s. As we look ahead to tomorrow, high temperatures get warm in the lower 90s. Chance of showers and storms late in the day. I'm Wish TV's Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Who is the only real estate expert I would trust with the sale of my home, and I would also trust with finding me a new home? It's Mark Dietl. It happened with Dan and Casey in Indianapolis. They were ready to downsize. They needed to sell quickly. But to make it all work, they needed to get a great price, of course. Mark Dietl made it happen. They got their asking price fast without any repairs or appraisals. The Mark Dietl team delivered exactly what they needed.
Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. That is the Mark Dietl guarantee. Pick your move date, no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. Call Mark Dietl today, 317-755-4500. 4232. He's the only agent we trust and recommend on the Hammer and Nigel show. You can also go online to markdeedle.com. That's Mark, D-I-E-T-E-L, markdeedle.com.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings. Seminars are Thursday, July 25th at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 5:30, stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. Or Saturday, July 27th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites Indianapolis Northeast in Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m., stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Register now at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
Expand your backyard living space with an Indie decorative concrete patio. Did you know that on average, our patios are less expensive than a wood deck? With a longer life, less maintenance, more color options, and more texture and pattern selections. We can even stamp your patio to look like wood. You can get a much larger and longer lasting entertainment space for your investment. Indie Decorative Concrete, the patio experts, changing the way Indie thinks about concrete.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey. The Hammer and Nigel show.
All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
My, oh my, oh my. What a weird place to be in here in the summer of 2024. Good evening, it's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. If you are Michelle Obama this evening, you've got to have at least some kind of a half smile. Michelle Obama, who has announced earlier that she would not be seeking the presidency in any way, shape, or form, is the only Democrat candidate out there that has been polled next to Donald Trump in any major recent national poll, who would theoretically beat Donald Trump. That's according to a Reuters national poll. Now, unfortunately, Michelle's really behind in the States. Kamala Harris is doing just pitifully. I mean, God bless her in the most southern sense of the phrase. And that is an interesting question you might notice because President Biden is still the president running for re-election. Well, I'm really giving him too much credit. Jill Biden is still currently making Joe run for re-election president of the United States. And it's a very weird place in the media hemisphere because a lot of media pundits on both the left and the right, which is a weird thing to say in and of itself because the left and the right, as far as media are concerned, rarely ever talk about the same thing. Both sides of the aisle have pundits, anchors, officials, the first congressman now, the Democrat representative from Texas, who are calling for Biden to step aside because the mental health is just horrible. And the further we get from the debate, just the worse it looks on video. President Biden has not bounced back after Karine Jean-Pierre said, well, it was a cold and a sore throat. And then today Karine said, well, it's just a rough first debate. A lot of incumbents have rough first debate. It keeps on changing. And that led to James Carville basically going on a very weird rant today about how the country doesn't like old white men slapped up on the ticket all the time. And maybe we should find someone that has some charisma and a pulse. And then you also had Carl Bernstein, columnist over on CNN with Anderson Cooper, notable, very not conservative Anderson Cooper. Carl made the case that he's known Biden was senile for like a year. Now, you don't go looking for any columns or anything about Carl Bernstein describing these things in detail before it was socially acceptable now. Then you have Jake Tapper criticizing the left-wing establishment, diehard Biden fans. There's not even a definitive group that I can assign here. You can't say that it's the establishment defending Biden and the media and the younger progressive wing defending replacing him. It's split across all factions, all parts of the party. It's a ginormous mess. But some people are still coming out, again, like Karine Jean-Pierre, other anchors, especially on MSNBC, claiming that Biden is fine, that he's the only hope, we got to stick by him. And Jake Tapper, of all people, has had enough.
A discernible pattern of Democratic officials seemingly trying to convince you, the public, to not believe what you saw and what you heard with your eyes and with your ears on Thursday night. Democratic officials have tried to spin this in many ways. They said President Biden just had a cold. They said it was just one off night, akin to when President Obama in 2012 was rusty and seemed a little huffy. But behind the scenes, make no mistake, most Democratic officials witnessed the same shocking spectacle that you did.
Now, that's what's amazing, because according to aides that have reached out to Axios, as well as several other major outlets, Biden's been like this for a while. So while it's, always pleasant to see Jake Tapper and a lot of members of the left fighting amongst themselves over a bed that they made very carefully and deliberately, I would also like to point out that Tapper was one of the individuals who was discrediting the deep fakes or cheap fakes or slowed down edited footage that was published as raw phone footage from like a Hollywood reporter individual. There's a lot of weird flip-floppity pancake nonsense. And that brings us to good old Biden. Biden is in an even rougher place, if you can believe it, because he is, not just because he's dementia-ridden and old and insane, but because he is a completely different candidate than who won in 2020. He's a completely different man. So Biden today decided to call for a heat summit because it's summer. And so that means that every time we have a high temperature, we're going to say it's climate change and it's the world's worst thing. So President Biden decided to make the very bold move to call a good half of the country stupid today. Here's what that looked like.
Unfortunately, my predecessor and the MAGA Republicans in Congress are trying to undo all this progress. They still deny climate change even exists. They deny climate change even exists. They must be living in a hole somewhere at the expense of health and safety of their own constituents. They deny it exists. Every single congressional Republican voted against the investments which created these jobs and combat climate change. Many of them are trying to repeal those climate provisions and kill those jobs. I quite frankly think it's not only outrageous, it's really stupid. Everyone who willfully denies the impacts of climate change is condemning the American people to a dangerous future, and either is really, really dumb or has some other motive than that. How come?
There you go. I mean, you would think that I would perhaps parse the language that Biden used about MAGA Republicans and say that, well, he called those people, said it was like they were living in a hole and that they were really stupid and that therefore I would draw from that he called half the country stupid. No. The President of the United States, wedging his old man orthopedic shoes into his mouth, says anyone who rejects the left's premise of climate change is really dumb. So, stellar stuff. The contempt that the Biden administration has for anyone who is not on the left is wild. And that's a stark contrast from Biden in 2020. Here's Biden in his very first address to the country after winning the election in November of 2020. See if you can notice maybe a little bit of a difference as opposed to his messaging now.
I said at the outset, I wanted to represent this campaign to represent and look like America. We've done that. Now that's what I want the administration to look like and act like. For all those of you who voted for President Trump, I understand the disappointment tonight. I've lost a couple times myself, but now let's give each other a chance.
Oh, look, it was the Unity guy. Like entire campaign ads in 2020 about how he was the unity candidate. We're going to bring everyone together. Joe Biden was the safe 90s Labor Democrat who could bring the farther to the left Obama progressive intersectional coalition and mix it with the Rust Belt Democrats as well as the independents, centrists in the country, even with a little place for Republicans. God bless them. And that ended about 15 minutes after he took office. And now we have this Joe that everyone has seen for the last 4 years. And this has made his polls absolutely bottom out. I mean, good Lord in heaven help these people. This is wild. According to USA Today Suffolk, Biden is down at 38%. Trump is up at 41% nationally. This is perhaps the most stunning. According to CNN, their post-debate poll that they released today has Trump up 49% to Biden's 43%. As one individual pointed out, I'm going to see if we can put this out on the screen, this is what the electoral map would look like were the CNN poll, and the states that it pulled from made the electoral map in the upcoming election. At a 49-43 across that state margin, Trump would win in November 342 electoral votes to Democrats 196. That is bonkers. And that's not even the worst poll. That's not even the worst one. Take a look at this. This is a leaked poll, an internal poll from a Democrat organization. This is by Puck News. And I want to point this out really quickly. Internal polling almost always favors your side of the aisle. The internal polling for Democrats here from Open Labs, I don't have the words to describe this, has Democrats down in almost every swing state by 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Biden is down in Wisconsin by 4 points, down in Nebraska by 4 points, down in Michigan by 7, Pennsylvania by 7.3, down in Nevada by 8, Arizona by 9, Georgia by 10 points, and Colorado, Minnesota, and Maine, he's almost breaking even. And that brings us to what on earth are the Democrats going to do? Because if they go to this, it's going to be like a lamb led to the slaughter. And that brings Democrats to the choice to replace Biden, to keep him on the ticket, and it really puts them in a rock and a hard place. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Up next, we're going to be talking to Stephen Kent for a little Whatcha Watchin'. Stick around. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hi, my name is Karen Morrell, and I'm a member of Tabernacle Presbyterian Church. I've been blessed to have many role models guiding me on my faith journey. I've always wanted to serve and help others, and TAB makes this easy by offering many outreach opportunities in our community. This has helped me find a purpose to use my God-given gifts to help others grow and thrive. Through worship, Bible study, serving meals, tutoring, and women's ministries, I've connected with others and received a sense of belonging and purpose. TAB is a place where you can connect and serve. I'm Karen Morrell, and I invite you to come and see for yourself.
Tabernacle Presbyterian Church, 34th Street and Central Avenue in Indianapolis, invites you to worship Sunday morning at 8 or 10 a.m. If you can't make it in person, tune in to Sunday with Tab, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on WIBC, or find us online at tabpres.org.
The Indiana Derby is one of the best days of summer. It's the state's biggest horse racing event with over $1 million in total purse money on the line. This is Racing Rachel inviting you to Horseshoe Indianapolis, Saturday, July 6th for all the fun. The 30th running of the Indiana Derby has a loaded race card with 8 premier races featuring some of the nation's top 3-year-old thoroughbreds. And off track at Horseshoe Indianapolis, we've got loads of other Derby Day entertainment for fans too, like a free cigar rolling station for the first 500 people, a $1,000 hat contest, a handicapping contest, plus mega bet drawing, magic mirror selfie station, food trucks, and more. All ages are welcome, plus admission is free. So is parking. First post time is noon, and racing goes rain or shine with plenty of seating both indoors and out. So join us for the 30th Indiana Derby, July 6th at Horseshoe Indianapolis. Just off I-74 in Shelbyville. Come on out and have a day.
A violent crime is committed every 24 seconds. The U.S. Concealed Carry Association exists to provide you with firearms education, training, and access to self-defense liability insurance. So when trouble comes, you'll be ready. Over 800,000 Americans trust the USCCA, and right now, there's an exclusive, limited-time offer for radio listeners. Go to defendfamily.com to get a free family defense guide, a survival secrets training video from a retired FBI agent, and see all the benefits of membership. Go to defendfamily.com now.
Plan the getaway your loved ones will remember for years to come. A stay at the Hilltop Hideaway in 2024. The Hilltop Hideaway Log Cabin is a luxury vacation rental high upon a hill on 5 private wooded acres in Brown County. Sleeps up to 6 people with wraparound deck, hot tub, and high-speed internet. Escape for a weekend or a whole week. 15 minutes from Brown County State Park in Nashville. Weekday specials available. HilltopHideawayLogCabin.com. HilltopHideawayLogCabin.com. Get away today to Hilltop Hideaway.
When you've got real work to do, Metal Supermarkets will help you get it done fast. We've got a huge variety of metals in stock, and we cut to size fast. Bottom line, we get it done fast so you get it done fast. Doesn't get easier than that. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Find a store or buy online at metalsupermarkets.com.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. Owner Danny Reinhardt's son Kevin says one simple saying from his dad affects him every day at work.
Especially when you go out and do sales and service calls and collect money and do all this stuff. It's important to a lot of people. He always said the number one thing I remember from him is just fair and honest wins every time.
You can trust Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, 317-745-4526. Reinhardt Heating and Cooling is your trusted local independent American Standard dealer.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. I'm Tony Kinnett. It's time for another great installment of Whatcha, Watchin with Stephen Kent from the Consumer Choice Center and, all kinds of great geeky Stoic stuff. The man's got the taste of a king. What's going on, dude?
I'm feeling kingly. Good to see you, Tony.
Well, aren't we all, after SCOTUS decision, crying and mourning of everyone's a king now, apparently. So tell us a little bit about what you're watching this week.
Well, I am watching right now, binging, I suppose, on FX, and you can also see it on Hulu, the third season of the award-winning series The Bear.
The Bear.
Yes, from director Christopher Storer and starring, one of the big stars of television today, Jeremy Allen White. This is a incredible, artistic, layered show about life in the kitchen and running a restaurant in the city of Chicago.
I wasn't expecting you to say that. I wasn't. I heard The Bear and I thought it's like a guy in the wilderness, like contending in the woods, and a kitchen in Chicago. Wasn't expecting, but okay, I'm intrigued. Please continue.
Not at all. So this is a show about being a chef. This show has popularized the yes chef expression, and just a lot of love for the culinary arts. This show is about a struggling sort of sandwich shop that goes through a transformation into having a gourmet restaurant, which is called The Bear. And Jeremy Allen White plays this young chef named Carmi, who is recruiting and sort of bringing up a really incredible young chef named Sydney. And it's a family story. These people are all in the kitchen together, yelling and screaming and just being sort of the best of downtown Chicago. Maybe you could also say the worst of downtown Chicago. And you just learn so much about the human experience and what it means to be alive from the practice of cooking and cooking by your friends and your family. It's a really deep show.
So I'll give that, again, I haven't seen any of this yet, but I'll give it a temporary and cautiously optimistic thumbs up, at least for the idea. I have a segment on this show that nobody asked for called Unnecessary Hot Takes. And it's when I complain about things that a lot of people like and that I just don't like for whatever reason. And one of those takes is that I'm tired of all of the cooking shows that are all the same. And, they're all reality shows and it's all the same kind of competition, obviously popularized by Iron Chef, Chopped, and Hell's Kitchen, things like that. And I got to tell you, an actual kind of TV drama kitchen scene kind of a thing, because a lot of people loved Chef with Jon Favreau.
Yes.
I gotta say, I'm that sounds like something I'd actually kind of turn on. But you said you were bummed by season 3 so far a little.
Yeah, they just released season 3. It flounders. It's a show that began winning big awards on season 2. It has incredible interpersonal drama. There's wonderful sort of relationship growth in season 2.
I love that.
Great cameos by the likes of Jamie Lee Curtis and John Barenthal and Oliver Platt. Even Joel McHale has sort of a rotating role on this show. And season 3 is too self-aware. it is too aware of the fact that people love this show and too aware of the fact that the culinary community around the country is now watching The Bear. And so in its self-awareness, it's gotten to be a little self-masturbatory and a little bit too self-satisfied with sound production and montage sequences and meat hitting the pan and sizzling of garlic. And it just sort of never ends. And you're just like, all right, when are we going to have a story and not just wonderful cinematography of food cooking? So season 3 is a little bit of a disappointment, but it's so worth it to watch season 1 and 2 because it's about entrepreneurship. It's about making the best of your life. It's about discipline, and it's about overcoming fear and anxiety and doing that in the kitchen. I love it.
On with Stephen Kent for Whatcha, Watchin, our weekly segment where we dig into what the kind of stuff that we're watching, and we talk about it on the air because, why not? So I think that's kind of a trend that has been a recent plague on a lot of TV and film, mostly TV, as we've reached a point in cinematography and in editing where you can make a lot of shots in sound design. You can make things look beautiful. They can sound beautiful. Mm-hmm. And what you end up getting is writing choices. It seems like a couple of decades ago, you had really difficult writing decisions that you had to make because the effects just weren't there. And so maybe you wanted to do something really cool that you couldn't necessarily do on screen because the effects weren't there. Whereas now, even though the decision in the script might be a very compelling piece of character development or something that's interesting to watch, but it's not as flashy and as beautiful on screen and doesn't have all of the key jangling that we've come to know and love. And that ends up getting substituted for the great writing. And it's a bummer. Of course, because every conversation we have has to come back to it. Star Wars, the end of The Mandalorian season 2, when he has the Naboo starfighter. Now, for those of you who don't watch Star Wars, the end of The Mandalorian season 2, there's like this single person, small specialty cockpit fighter. And there's a guy who's a bounty hunter whose job is to go collect people, grab them and take them places to drop them off and collect the bounty. That becomes his vehicle of choice. And it's fan service, it's key jangling, and it doesn't make any sense in the world, but it feels like it was a cinematographic choice, a cinematic choice. Yeah, that's the word. So that you could have really cool fighter scenes and cinematography. Am I off base there?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And key jangling is a practice in legacy television, or prestige television might be.
Prestige
television. And, Star Wars has gone through a bunch of different phases with sort of what kind of television it's making. We talked about this last week on What You Watchin, which is the Star Wars shows that aim for prestige, like Andor on Disney Plus, which very much is striving to be a competitor to like a Game of Thrones level type drama. It's Jason Bourne-esque in its sort of elevated production quality. Whereas The Mandalorian is, it's just kind of like a Western TV show. It's a little bit more, not lowbrow, but just anybody can watch it and appreciate what's going on in it. And it's cute and you have a good time. It's a Star Wars show. And then you have this new show from Star Wars called The Acolyte, which is like teen wolf television. I feel like I'm watching Twilight, but it's a television show with Jedi in it. It's very strange.
Oh no.
But there are some good moments in it.
So moving forward from there, and there's a couple of other things that popped into my head as you were saying that. This is the reason I can't get into the DC cinematic universe shows like The Flash, because it's all cinematography and the writing just makes no sense at all. Which, it's the DC comic universe. Nothing in that universe makes sense at all.
Yeah,
but,
what do they say? I watch this show for the plot, but it ends up being the plot is just attractive actors, and that's basically all the show brings to the table.
That's true. And if I wanted to watch attractive actors, I would just watch the Tony Kinnett cast on 93 WIBC. You know what I'm saying?
I know it. You can find it on YouTube and see that mug of yours.
So, is there anything that's coming out that you're excited to see? I know that over in the cinema world, there's not a ton coming out this year that's really gripped me so far. But that doesn't mean you always have such a niche taste in things that are coming out.
Well, I am quite excited actually about the new Bonhoeffer movie about the German theologian and anti-Nazi dissident Dietrich Bonhoeffer, basically just famous, a pastor who helped tried to kill Hitler, coming from the movie studio. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the studio. The Sound of Hope people, the Angel Studios. Angel Studios has the new Bonhoeffer movie coming out here in November. Very excited about that. And I think it's always worth revisiting this particular story of a dissident living in the Third Reich, willing to actually take action against the Nazis and coming at it from a crystallized Christian point of view. At what point do you engage in sort of violence? And at what point can it be justified?
I'm very much in favor of those kind of stories. I think they're really neat. I can't help but notice that Twisters is coming out. So it's like this not at all interesting.
Low brow movies.
Yeah.
Right?
I love the movie Twister. I think that it is a great movie from the 90s. And there is a movie that is coming out called Twisters. It's out actually now, I think. And it's just kind of a weird mock kind of a satire flick of it. And not that I really want to see it because I think it's going to be good. It's just so weird to have this movie come out now in 2024. Usually the satire, like Not Another Teen Movie, those came out just a couple of years after all of those.
Tony,
were
I have to
coming out.
stop you. I have to stop you here because it's not true that this is a satire. This is a sequel. This is Twisters 2 or Twister 2.
What?
Yeah.
I'm not really. This is the actual sequel to Twister.
This is real, Tony. Twisters is a sequel which builds on the Dorothy technology that they developed in the first Twister to send all of those little scattered metal balls out of the back of a weather tracker and into the tornado. This is literally a sequel, and it is overly self-aware to the point where it feels like a comedy.
I thought, and here I was thinking that this was like a satire because the way that the movie is described, and it's been described to me in clips, is it says that there's like a charming but reckless social media superstar who thrives on posting his storm chasing adventures. I thought that's got to be like a satirical thing. And that's one of the only movies I've seen come out. It's real. It's the real sequel. Oh no. Oh, I'm going to have to see it now so that you and I can tear this apart. How are you going to do this without Philip Seymour Hoffman in the suck zone?
Well, he's dead.
Well, no, I mean, I know. I mean, that hence the point. I'm just saying that, I don't know how you could do something in the Twisters universe without the actors made the film.
I would like to stop you right there and say the problem with all of this is the fact that you said Twisters universe. The fact that we have a universe for everything now.
The Twisters cinematic universe. All right, we're very over time. Stephen Kent, Whatcha Watchin? I'm going to read before we actually do the next episode next week. He's from over at Consumer Choice Center and Geeky Stoics. Have a happy 4th of July, my dude.
You as well, Tony. Let freedom ring.
We'll be back in just a second. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
So I came to Advent because I was experiencing recurrent sinus infections. As a new mom, it was really kind of difficult.
Many of our patients complain of sinus infections. The headaches, fatigue, and nasal stuffiness have a profound effect on their lives.
I just felt like your sickness starts affecting your energy level and, the things that you really enjoy doing. That really was a breaking point for me.
So Molly came to Advent. Abnormally tight sinuses and swollen turbinates led to simple breathing triangle solutions that ended up taking about 20 minutes in office. And very soon thereafter, she was breathing freely.
I'm just in awe at the amount of air that that I'm able to breathe in and out each night, and I haven't had a sinus infection since the procedure.
I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. When you breathe well, you do live better.
Results may vary.
Hey, Pat Sullivan here, letting you know that Hope Plumbing is bringing back an amazing offer. For a limited time, Hope Plumbing will buy back your old water heater for $1,000 with the installation of a tankless water heater. So if having endless hot showers and saving money on your gas bill is on your summer to-do list, call my friends at Hope Plumbing and get your tankless water heater installed today. HopePlumbing.com.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career and they talked to me about it.
He was done in just months.
I did do it online.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at My Computer Career.
It worked for me and I know it can work for you.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Life's full of unexpected joys, like problems with water. That's why there's Michaelis, a crew of 24/7 experts who are rescue ready, day or night, one phone call, for a gazillion disasters. Over 3 decades of restoring your home or business to better than new condition. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Call 844-FIX-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
We put our lives on the line for our country. We braved the unknown. We did what we were told. And we lit up. Our cigarette packs were as valuable as the packs on our back. Maybe more. At one point, cigarettes were part of our daily ration. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. And boy, we were smoking 'em. Bumming a smoke was the norm. It was an escape from the reality of dirt, sweat, and forgetting how many days you were so far from home. Never had to worry so long as you had a light, and the smoking lamp was lit. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now. Surviving lung cancer starts with a scan. Learn more at screenyourlungs.org. And thank you for your service. This PSA was made possible by industry funding and guidance from lung cancer patient groups.
Prescription opioids can be addictive and dangerous.
Opioid pain medication took everything that I had. Nothing mattered more than getting my fix. I was on the verge of being homeless. My house was being foreclosed on. Knowing that it could have been prevented makes it worse. It just takes one.
Prescription opioids. It only takes a little to lose a lot. Visit cdc.gov/RxAwareness.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors. For 1951 cabinetry, visit Drexel's Kitchen and Bath Design Centers at 146th and River Road, North Shadeland, or drexelin.com.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
So, with the Joe Biden running the old campaign just flying right into the ground, a self-destruct, if you will. Actually, that's not a good enough example. This isn't just a self-destruction that takes you. This isn't just the old Aaron Bushnell setting himself on fire outside of an Israeli embassy. No. This is the kind of self-destruct that's like the Death Star exploding. That is what President Biden is doing to his campaign. So this is new information that Karine Jean-Pierre actually confirmed today in front of the press corps, who, by the way, she was lecturing reporters about asking if President Biden had Alzheimer's. That was special. But she did confirm that President Joe Biden is now bringing his son Hunter to top-level advisory meetings with him. Hunter Biden being one of the key individuals that is advocating for President Biden to stay in the race, to stay president of the United States, which, by the way, prompted Bill Maher, who I don't have any particular love for, say, quote, "I see that it's Hunter Biden who foremost is urging his father to stay, and when has he ever made a bad decision?" I don't know how you can go in one move and get on a debate stage and say, well, Donald Trump is a liar about, Trump talking about abortion or about the border, two things that his policy is actually pretty consistent on. And then when the moderator says, well, how do you know Trump is lying about the border or about crime or about abortion? And then Biden responds, well, he's a convicted felon. And then in the same breath, because you're using the term convicted felon as though some like blanket discreditation, you're bringing Hunter Biden along to your top secret advisory meetings. First of all, what kind of, secret classification intel clearance is Hunter cleared for? I mean, good, sweet grace there. I guess there's still some secrets to peddle. So because Biden is self-destructing on a magnitude unfathomable up until this point, Democrats are actively moving in two directions at once. I do not mean they are considering two directions. They're out of time. They're out of time. It's 3.5 weeks until the Democrat National Convention. August is close. It's July, folks. August is very, very close. And then November is right around the corner. So they have to get moving now. Well, there is no top-down super secret cabal that's actually telling everyone what to do at once. And by the way, here's the proof. You have about half the Democrat Party, again, different factions all playing together, who are trying desperately to salvage the Biden campaign, that are just kind of whistling past the graveyard, while other parts of the Democrat Party are considering who they can replace him with and why, and what on earth you do, and what kind of corner they've painted themselves into. Case in point, Democrat governors had a secret phone call yesterday about President Biden's campaign, according to CNN's Jake Tapper. By the way, the number of leaks that are now coming out of the left about all of the internal workings and goings on about secret meetings, because some of the young aides and workers on the left, especially the equity hires who are there just to burn things down and were hired because of the pronouns at the end of their college application, that those are the same hyper-progressives that are now leaking things to the media in order to get Biden, who they call Genocide Joe, out of office. That's hilarious. But anywho, all the Democrat governors got together, because when you really have a problem, what you really need is the governor of Hawaii to bring in some key intel there for you. And they don't know what to do. They don't know whether Biden should stay in, get out. They were expressing serious concern over Biden's well-being. According to Tapper, he said, they know if they come forward publicly with concern, that will likely cause Biden to dig in more. And they were also surprised none of them have heard from him. When I say that all of the cabinet officials are simply doing their own thing when they run the country, this is what I'm talking about. This is it. When I say that the Secretary of Transport, when Pete Buttigieg does not talk to Lloyd Austin, who does not talk to Alejandro Mayorkas, who does not talk to, and on and on and on down the line. That's why when Janet Yellen gets up in front of the media and says something, the rest of the heads and directors of the agencies are like, wait, what? She said what? Biden is dead. Jill Biden is running around carrying him in like a baby carrier. And all of the department heads and all of the Democrat governors are just doing their own thing. Their own thing, just kind of trying to keep it all together. So they all hosted a little behind the lockers conversation about kicking Kelly off the cheerleading squad yesterday. And that leaked to media, and it looks really, really bad. Because if they do kick Biden off the ballot, they're left with one of two individuals. If they go with the only Democrat that's polling above Joe Biden, or excuse me, that's polling, well, yes, it's the only one that's polling above Joe Biden, actually, and the only one that's polling above Trump, Michelle Obama, they lose all of their money. Money that is donated to the Biden-Harris campaign does not magically, mythically transfer to the next Democrat candidate the second one of them drops out and another one pops in. It does not work like that. Federal election and campaign finance laws are very specific about this. Not only that, but there are states that say you can't just force Democrat electors or Republican electors in a primary to swing their votes behind a different candidate if a candidate wants or is to be knocked off the ballot. Now, if Biden resigns and you want to keep that money, that leaves you with good old Vice President equity hire Kamala Harris. So this looks like the route that the DNC appears to be going in. So the Democrat National Committee is likely going to formally nominate Biden as early as mid-July, like here in 10 or 15 days. Before the DNC even gets to meet, they're going to get this really done and out of quick so that Chicago is not a blistering embarrassment come August, which is already pretty much poised to be. And that makes Biden, you think he's going to last until November? That's not a joke. That's not something I ask lightly. It's a serious question. I don't know. He is deteriorating very, very rapidly. The full dose of cocktails that they give him as far as stimulants are concerned They don't work. As Carl Bernstein said today, he has good days and bad days. How many times have we said that about the elderly in our life that we care for? I mean, gracious. By the way, here's Representative James Clyburn today on MSNBC saying that if it's not going to be Joe, then it's going to be Kamala. That's the person to go with.
How would you feel if there is a decision for him to step down, if he decides that, and he has to decide that? Or if the party pressures him to do that, how would you feel if they worked around and tried to go around Kamala Harris because of her lack of high poll numbers and popularity and broadly based? Do you think it's hers to have if it is not his?
I will support her if he were to step aside. But I want to support her going forward at some time in the future. I want this ticket to continue to be Biden-Harris.
And that is clearly the goal. Again, they've painted themselves into a corner with Kamala, who polls terribly, by the way. She doesn't know the lyrics to the Wheels on the Bus. She is an absolute idiot by every sense of the word. But Biden openly admits that he picked her because of the color of her skin and what is in her pants, or I guess these days what she identifies as in her pants. You have to hear Kamala saying this today. This is just about an hour ago over on CBS News.
We know that Chief Justice Roberts said that the president is not above the law. What's your take on this?
Well, let's just be clear. It's one of the foundational principles in our system of justice that no one is above the law. And when we have a candidate in Donald Trump who's openly said he'll be a dictator on day one, that he will weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies, it is very likely that he could be immune from those kinds of acts. And we have to take seriously the stakes of this election in terms of the thought that we could have a president in the White House who thinks he's immune and able then to make decisions with that office that include weaponizing the Department of Justice against his political enemies or being a dictator on day one.
And speaking about stakes, you just came out of a fundraiser. We know that many in your party have expressed concerns about President Biden's health. Just this morning, Congressman Doggett said that he's calling on President Biden to withdraw from the race, given that there's too much at stake to risk a Trump victory. What's your response to this?
Look, Joe Biden is our nominee. We beat Trump once, and we're going to beat him again, period.
Are you ready to lead the country if necessary?
I am proud to be Joe Biden's running mate. Thank you.
There you go, folks. He's just going to last forever. And if not, you have giggles. Hoo boy. We'll be back in just a second. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Tony Katz here, and if you know me, you know I like my bourbon, and just like you, I like a good deal. So let me tell you about Hotel Tango Bourbon. Hotel Tango is a distillery right here in Indianapolis, started by Travis Barnes, a Marine who served 3 tours in Iraq. He wanted to craft spirits with the same discipline he learned in the Marine Corps. That's what Hotel Tango does. I've tried his bourbon. It's wonderful. It's a 4-grain bourbon with a distinct mash bill. You get a little caramel and some of that aroma. You get a nice rye kick to balance it out. I'm not the only one who thinks it's good. Wine Enthusiast gave it a 94, and it won a gold at the San Francisco Spirits Competition. It's also under $40. Did I mention that? One of the 10 best bourbons under $40, according to Wine Enthusiast. Try it for yourself. Head down to wherever you buy fine spirits and try Hotel Tango for yourself. You'll be supporting local, supporting veterans, and getting yourself a great, sippable, enjoyable bourbon at a great price. Thanks to Hotel Tango for sponsoring the show. Hotel Tango, distilled with discipline. HotelTangoDistillery.com.
High five! Up top! Heck yeah!
Dave's company just got the first ever 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business.
Yeah, 5 years!
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
High five for gig speed.
5 years of advanced security.
Security win.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Our rate ain't changing.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability.
There it is.
He hasn't given this many high fives since Deborah brought in her famous banana bread.
Woohoo!
Now he's got savings.
I'm so excited.
Yep, Dave's feeling it. But it's only for a limited time, so don't wait. Switch today and ask how to get the first ever 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business. Powering 5 years of savings. Powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
And it's hurting, but I am not stopping.
Ends 8/21/24. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust new Febreze car vent clips, now with 3 times greater scent control, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with new Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing, which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up Oscar!
Brace for the Indiana heat with Chapman Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. Get your AC tune-up for enduring efficiency and comfort. Visit ChapmanHeating.com.
Remember, Chapman, demand for all seasons. ChapmanHeating.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Imagine the possibilities of getting the backyard of your dreams. Expand your living space with an Indie Decorative Concrete patio. Indie Decorative Concrete, the patio experts. Big enough to service, small enough to care.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. There are a few key things that you need to consider when you dig into a good old-fashioned 4th of July slam, bam, thank you, ma'am kind of situation. And that is undoubtedly a good steak. I know a lot of you guys out there in the great wild beyond, you have your traditions. Some of you, it's grilling out with friends and family. Some of you out there, it's you're more of a hot dog individual. You're more of a burger individual. Unfortunately, Allison decided that right now was her time to attempt going out to purchase some of these hot dogs and hamburgers. She had some really great traditions we're going to have to hear about tomorrow instead. So if we set that aside for just a moment, as Hoosiers, heroes out there, ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing better, I would argue at least, in my own personal time, touch, and taste, than a really great 4th of July movie before the fireworks. Because after you do you don't want to wait until late in the evening to do your cookout. So you get the family and the friends together, you relax, you put your hands behind your head, and you lean back and enjoy a great movie. Now, here's the question. Do you go with everyone's American favorite, Mel Gibson's The Patriot? That's a good one. Are you one of the nerdier families that watches a couple episodes of John Adams' series on the HBO? I don't know personally if I'd go with that. Do you go with a Zero Dark 30 or kind of a Forward Unto Dawn, kind of the Spec Ops kind of movie? Maybe you're a Red Dawn family. I'm talking about the 1984 one, the 2012 one with Josh Peck. That didn't happen. That isn't a real movie. Maybe you're a Hamilton family. You flip on a little bit of Hamilton.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. I'm Tony Kinnett, here at the tail end of a good show to talk a little bit about 4th of July traditions and things that, at least to the average Hoosier, are very, very important. Allison, does your family have a movie that they always go to watch on 4th of July before the fireworks start?
A movie? I don't think so.
Oh, it's a shame. I'll never know if your family's like a Patriot, You know, watch that on the 4th of July, or perhaps something, you know, a little unique and interesting. A lot of people are Hamilton fans. I like Hamilton. It's a very, very good musical as well. The real question, though, is what kind of meat do you go to on 4th of July? Because this has changed for me over the years.
Honestly, I like the traditional hot dog. I know it's kind of controversial, but I love it.
No, I like that. A good hot dog is fantastic. Although I really prefer a Chicago dog if I'm going to be eating a hot dog at all these days. Standard grilled hot dogs, they bother me, and it's just kind of mushy and burn at the same time. Not a big fan. I will say that over the last couple of years, just the most ungodly large steak covered in butter with a baked potato. The bigger the steak, the more American you are. I mean, if you can't put down 38 ounces of tender red meat, I mean, what are you, some kind of commie? Get out of here. You got to start putting steak into your 4th of July diet, Allison. It's crucial.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. Or just do both. How about that?
A hot dog and a steak.
Well, we'll start lunch with a hot dog, and then like maybe wrap up the evening with a steak.
If you gotta I like beef franks, but if you're gonna do like a hot dog, kind of like a pork situation, then I would just fry your steak in bacon grease. You know, substitute that in, get a little of that going on. I don't know if hot dogs are always a very, very welcome treat anytime. I gotta tell you though, I'm kind of sick of the pretzel buns. Because there's just too much bun, and or like the fancy brioche buns, it's like they're trying too hard. That's not any good. But the one thing my dad did instill in me as a kid, that the biggest Hoosier tradition is not only doing fireworks, but doing them better than your neighbors. And then after you get done with the fireworks that you paid too much for, and after you're considering, you know, alternative paycheck opportunities for the next couple of weeks, you get up on the roof, and then you watch all of the fireworks. At least from where I grew up, you could see the ones over near Muncie and Anderson and Newcastle. It's just such a cool feeling just to see all of that.
Here's a question. Sparklers, yes or no?
Sparklers, yes, for the kids, but you kind of outgrow them. We were getting into Roman candle fights when I was in college, so if I'm going to spend money, couple of Roman candle fights. I don't advise anyone to do this, of course, but you know,
the adult sparklers.
Yeah, the adult there you go. We will be back tomorrow for a great pre-Treason's Greetings 4th of July. This has been the Tony Kinnett Cast over on 93 WIBC.
So